The first thing my father did wasn't speak. He threw my future across the desk like garbage. The paper hit my chest and slid to the floor. The office smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. The blinds were half closed, carving the room into pale stripes of light and shadow. My father still didn't look at me. My mother laughed. Not nervous, not forced. Light. Amused. Like someone had just told a clever joke. She took the pen from Dad's hand, signed slowly, and said, "Go to jail for us." I'm Caleb Hartman, their only son, and in that moment I understood how easily they could say it. I bent down and picked up the papers. Fraud charges, corporate liability, my name printed clean at the bottom, already waiting. All they needed was my signature to turn me into the fall guy for years of their decisions. Dad finally looked up, jaw tight, eyes sharp. "This is family," he said, like that explained everything. My flaw has always been wanting things calm, wanting peace even when it costs me. The clock ticked loud enough to feel like it was inside my skull. My mother crossed her arms, already relieved. "You're young," she added. "You'll recover." I picked up the pen. Then I didn't sign. Instead, I noticed something small in the margins, something they clearly hadn't read. Dad leaned back in his leather chair, the same one with the crack in the arm from when I was a kid and he slammed it during an argument. I remembered hiding under his desk that day, counting dust bunnies to stay calm. Old habits don't die, they just get quieter. "Don't overthink it," he said. "Lawyers handled the rest." That's when I realized this wasn't a request. It was choreography. They'd rehearsed this moment without me. I scanned the document again, dense language designed to blur meaning, until one clause near the back caught my eye. Polite, buried, dangerous. If the signer cooperated fully, all internal communications would be disclosed. Emails, memos, recorded calls. Mom stood and straightened a framed beach photo I barely remembered enjoying. "You always were the responsible one," she said. "That's why we trust you." Trust. Another word they used like a tool. Quietly I asked, "Have you both read page 12? Dad's fingers froze. Just for a second. Mom turned around, her smile landing just short of confident. "Why?" I didn't answer. I folded the document slowly, the paper suddenly heavier in my hands. The clock kept ticking, and for the first time, they weren't sure what move came next. Dad stood too fast. His chair scraped across the floor, a sharp sound that sliced the room. He reached for the document. I pulled it back toward my chest without thinking. "Give that here," he said. His voice wasn't loud. That was worse. I shook my head once, small, careful, the same way I used to say no as a kid and hope it wouldn't turn into a fight. Mom sighed like I had disappointed her over something minor. "Caleb, don't make this dramatic. Everyone signs things they don't like." Behind Dad, the bookshelf watched us. Law books, awards, and a tiny brass scale of justice that always felt ironic to me. "If this is clean, why does it say full disclosure of internal correspondence only applies to the signer?" Silence stretched. Dad's jaw flexed. Mom's fingers tightened around her purse strap. "That's standard," Dad said too quickly. "It's not." My own voice surprised me, steadier than I felt. I could almost hear my younger self whispering, "Keep the peace, take the hit." But something had shifted. Maybe it was the word jail. Maybe it was how easily they laughed. I slid the document back across the desk, unsigned. "I'll need my own lawyer." Mom's face went cold. Dad's eyes darkened. And then he said the thing that proved I was never meant to walk out free. His voice dropped into courtroom control. "If you bring in your own lawyer, you're admitting guilt." That landed heavier than shouting ever could. Mom stepped closer, lowering her voice like it was advice, not a threat. "Think about what people will say, Caleb. Headlines don't care about details. They'll see your name, not ours." I finally looked at them. Really looked. Dad's confident posture, Mom already planning dinner in her head. This was never about protecting me. It was about containment. So if I don't sign, what happens? Dad walked around the desk slowly, like he was circling a witness stand. Then we stop protecting you, he said. We let the investigation go where it wants. Something cracked inside me. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to let air in. The office felt smaller now. The clock wasn't loud anymore, just precise. I need a copy to review. Mom scoffed. You already know what's right. Dad hesitated, just a beat too long. Then he slid a single page toward me. Only the signature page. And that's when I knew. They weren't afraid of me refusing to sign. They were afraid of me reading everything. I didn't argue. That surprised them. I took the single page, folded it once, and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Dad's eyes followed my hands like a hawk, his instincts finally waking up. Mom tilted her head, searching my face for the old version of me, the old one who apologized just to end conversations. I'll be back, I said. Tomorrow. Dad exhaled through his nose. This doesn't leave this room. I met his eyes. You already let it. The drive out of the parking garage felt unreal. Concrete walls echoed everything. Engine, turn signal, breath. I sat in my car before starting it, hands resting on the steering wheel like it might steady me. It didn't. Instead, I drove downtown to the only place I could think clearly, the public records office. Fluorescent lights, dusty binders, nobody who cared who my father was. I requested filings connected to the company. Routine stuff, boring stuff. That's when I found it. An amendment filed 6 months earlier. Quiet, almost invisible. It shifted liability in the event of internal misconduct to a designated operational proxy, a role created for appearances. My name was already listed. No signature required. I stared at the page, my reflection faint in the glass tabletop. They hadn't needed my consent at all. The document in Dad's office wasn't protection, it was insurance for them. As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom. We told your uncle you agreed. My chest tightened. They'd already started without me. I didn't reply. I set the phone face down and listened to the hum of the lights. For the first time all day, no one was talking at me. That silence felt earned. I drove back to my apartment and opened my laptop. My flaw showed up again. I almost convinced myself to sleep on it, almost told myself I was overreacting. Instead, I opened a new email and typed a name I hadn't used in years. Mark Delaney, a corporate defense attorney I'd met once during an internship. Kind in a way that didn't demand loyalty. I sent him the amendment. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Did they tell you you were already listed? He asked. No. He laughed once, no humor in it. Then you're not the fall guy. You're the anchor. He explained it carefully. If charges moved forward, prosecutors would start with me. But that buried clause Dad tried to hide, it didn't just open emails. It opened decision chains. Who approved what? Who benefited? Your parents think control is protection, but control leaves fingerprints. I leaned against the counter, staring into the dark window. My reflection looked older than it had that morning. What do I do? I asked. You wait. You let them push first. My phone lit up again before I could put it down. Dad, come in early tomorrow. Investigators are asking questions. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because for the first time the timing wasn't theirs anymore. The next morning I waited in the hallway outside his office. I stared at a framed mission statement I'd walked past 100 times without reading. Integrity, accountability, leadership. The words felt heavier now. The door stayed closed longer than I expected. When it finally opened, Mom came out first. Her shoulders were stiff, her purse clutched like a shield. She didn't look at me. Dad followed slower, smaller somehow. A consultant stayed behind in the room. Dad stopped a few feet from me. For the first time in my life, his voice didn't carry certainty. You didn't have to do it this way. I nodded. You didn't either. That was all there was to say. Outside, the morning air was sharp and cold. My phone buzzed. Mark again. The company will survive. Barely. The investigation's going forward properly now. I leaned against my car. My name? I asked. You'll be removed from the proxy role. Officially. Publicly. I closed my eyes. Then Mark added, but here's the part that matters. You're clean. A pause. They're not. I ended the call and sat in the driver's seat without starting the engine. My hands trembled just a little. I let them. Later that afternoon, I opened my email and typed a resignation. 1 sentence. No explanation. When I hit send, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clear. That night, Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was softer than the office version. We did everything for you. I listened once. Then I didn't call back. Because the truth was quiet.